Hey gang, welcome back to another episode of Directionally Speaking. I'm Jeff Zentz, Senior Director of Innovation for Agronovis, Indiana, and I'm joined with another team from the Velocity Accelerator from this spring, Adam from Food for Health, and I'd love to turn it over to Adam to introduce himself, Food for Health, and then we'll dive into the conversation. Adam.
Thank you so much, Jeff. I'm Adam Southam, and as Jeff mentioned, Food for Health. And what is that? Well, it's pretty self-explanatory. Our job is to figure out for you what is good or bad for you, what foods are good or bad for you in the prevention or treatment of disease, the pursuit of a wellness, fitness, lifestyle goal, all within the context of what your taste buds like, because while we talk over them, they do not listen. They are in charge. So what's key about us that doesn't exist anywhere else is the use of clinical evidence. So clinical studies done it can be as few as 3 and as many as 300,000, sometimes millions of people. But the idea is that these are factually based studies conducted by scientists and sometimes the National Institute of Health and other organizations around the world that are telling the truth. So everything we do is backed by clinical studies, and we show you how to use that information, learn from that information if you want to go that deep, or you can just download our app and enter a medical condition or a wellness goal or just a taste preference, and the app will tell you what's good or bad for you.
Adam, that's super exciting. And, from the moment we met, talking about that marriage between, personal preference and health, even in my own personal goal or journey, like it's been difficult because, as much as I know Brussels sprouts are good for me, I struggle with them. But to have an app that might be able to say, well, you may not like this specific thing, but have you tried this? We think that happens. I love that idea. So let's dive a little bit deeper into Adam's story. Did you always know you were going to be an entrepreneur? Was this always in your path? Or, how did we end up here where we are today?
Well, I actually drove, but yeah. So that's a great question. Thank you. And in my case, that is the case. I come from a commercial family, an entrepreneurial family, going back many generations, 9 generations, and by the time I was 10, I was I was selling stuff on the street, lemonade, not illegal drugs, and well, there was some vitamin C, but ultimately, yes, I did know at a very early age. In fact, my first company I founded when I was 10. I inherited $3,000. I turned that into a few $100,000, and turned that into a few million. And by the time I was 21, I was probably worth netting 6 million. By the time I was 25, the markets crashed, and I was worth nothing. So,
Sure.
yeah, but it's been a fascinating ride. Along the way, I became a turnaround expert to fix people who would do really stupid things, and because I had done some really stupid things, so that's how you advise others is you did put your hand on this on the oven.
Yes, no doubt. So talk to me about, starting at 10, working your way up through experiencing success, loss, all of that. How did that lead you to Food for Health today?
Yeah, well, I'm glad that this is a 4-hour plenary because we're just beginning. And let me start with the Magna Carta. All right, kidding. So I'm going to just talk about the last 25 years. And the last 25 years, I'll bridge this in the sense that I've always been the guy who sees a problem, which sounds negative, but then solves it. So I walk into a room, I see something wrong, and I say, okay, well, this is how we're going to fix it. I want to make the environment, whether that's a room or the planet, better. It's just my nature. And that comes from Mom, by the way. She called me a problem, child. No. Problem solver, yes. Well, maybe both. So 25 years ago, I was in a marketing agency that I created. And we had a client come in who had a problem. They wanted to sell on this thing called the internet. and but they didn't want to disintermediate their distribution partners, and so I quickly looked at that problem and I said, well, then don't. And they looked at me like I was crazy. No comments, Jeff. And I solved the problem with a company called Reshare, which enabled manufacturers to sell online directly to end consumers without circumventing the Harley dealership, the Aveda stylist, etc. And it's in use by thousands of companies, probably about 500 Fortune 2,000 companies today. So that was my first patented solution. I'm now on company 3. They're all methodologies to achieve an end goal, and they're all algorithms are based upon algorithms that use algorithms that then deliver an outcome from the intention in the first place. I'm Harley Davidson. I want to sell to you, the consumer, but I don't need to send that light bulb to the dealership for you to drive 50 miles to pick it up. I can send it to you. Well, that's the problem we solved in the first case. This is food for health. This is the most important thing that I could possibly imagine doing in my life, because it is a worldwide application, and guess what? It affects everyone. It doesn't matter whether you're rich or poor or tall or skinny or fat or short. Did I get those in? Okay. Black, white, or blue. This is everybody. And the world as it has come, in America, we've got 2/3 of adults have one or more chronic diseases. Well, that was not the case 50 years ago. And it's only getting worse. And if we extrapolate where we are from a healthcare standpoint today, we're going bankrupt. So, we're all worried about what's going on today in the stock exchange and the government and lots of interesting things going on. But what we're losing sight of is that we're not going to have a stable country that can afford an election if we don't solve the problem just with morbid obesity and diabetes. And Ozempic is not going to do it, because you have to understand that we cannot live on pills. They do some great things. I'm all for pharma in the right place, but you still need nutrition to fire the brain, to make the feet go up the stairs, to breathe and a heartbeat. You need nutrition, and we've gone astray in that. Nobody's fault, by the way. It happened. It actually happened for good reason.
Yeah. So, and I think that's one of the things that, as we've worked together over the past, 4.5 months, and getting to know each other and see this in action, one of the things that's really exciting to me is the level of, I feel like Food for Health treats people like adults that can make their own decisions, and they just need some information. It's one of those things that even on my journey, and we've talked about our journeys together, like, we know what is healthy food, but it's still down to those taste buds to get things to move. And so the thought of, you have developed this app that brings the ability to a consumer to take into account the things that they do like and make educated suggestions, to maybe not go from, the thing we joke about is, cauliflower pizza. Maybe you don't have a taste for cauliflower crust pizza. That's okay. But maybe this particular pizza, if it's on the shelves, is a better option, and it still tastes a way that you might prefer. And so you might nudge that scale a little bit healthier while still enjoying something that you like. What inspired that? Like, where did you come up with this concept of balancing the taste and the nutrition side?
Yeah, it must have been Brussels sprouts. So, thanks for dropping that slice on my plate, by the way. In Target, near where I live, there's 145 frozen pizzas, and we can actually grade them. We actually do grade them from 1 to 145 based upon your individual on your medical conditions, your wellness goals, your taste preferences come in next. So you tell us it's something as simple as, hey, I've got high cholesterol, and hey, I don't like onions. Well, we're going to look at high cholesterol and onions. We're going to make sure that the ingredients actually will help to lower your cholesterol and that the ingredients that aren't there will not raise your cholesterol. Okay, and there's no onions. So the no onions part is really easy. Okay, the raising and lowering of cholesterol is hard. So we can rank those pizzas from 1 to 145. And as you say, I really don't like kale spines, and I really, there's things I don't like. So the first pizza on the list, which may be the best one, which is the best one for me, medically speaking, is not going to satisfy my taste buds. They're going to be angry. And it's number 22 that actually is going to be not only better than what I'm eating right now at number 145, tastes better to me, but it may even be less expensive, and it's unquestionably going to help me live longer and stronger and happier.
Yeah, I
So,
mean, I love it. And I think that's the thing that, you know, ultimately helps people like me implement and actually be able to make the outcomes that we're hoping to make in the long run. And I think it gets me excited about the future of where Food for Health is going. Um, let's dive into a toughie, okay? In your, experience last, 25 or 30 years, what has been one of the big challenges that you've come up against that has been something you may not want to walk through again, but has helped shape you as an entrepreneur?
oh, I'm afraid it's failure. And failure is the greatest instructor that can be. I'm not going to get on my bike and intend to hit a tree, mountain biking, and hence I tried to avoid that. But there are so many examples. So when I have the privilege of talking to younger kids at colleges, I really tell them not to be too worried about the failure, because if you don't have it, there really is no chance of success. I mean, it is extraordinarily rare, but that it happens, and then I would suggest it's luck. You have to fail to succeed. Um, and going back to my time doing turnaround work, this was me taking my lessons of failure and applying them to people who hadn't failed yet or were on their way to failing, and bailing them out before it happened. So, a safety net. So I think everything needs to be a calculated judgment. So I could jump off the porch. And it's 2 feet high, and I feel reasonably assured I'll be okay when I land. And there are certain levels I'd be willing to jump off the water. Well, you get to the airplane, and you realize that without a parachute or one of those squirrel suits, it's probably not going to end well. So it is logic. So number one is failure. Number two is actually logic. I can't say it, but I can do it. Logic. It's essential to separate and not to ignore the emotion, because that's very, very important, especially in something like Food for Health, but to separate them. And along with that comes, as we look at this wonderful thing called AI, it is called fact checking. And by the way, we needed to fact check when we were writing things on stones, but we've always needed to fact check. It's just so much more important now. So logic and anticipate the failure. People get up in the morning and they say, "Oh my gosh, I'm going to have a terrible day." Well, okay, bad attitude. I get up in the morning and I say, "It's going to be a good day. I know I'm going to fail a whole bunch, but I'm going to be better today than I was yesterday." And most of the time it's true. Sometimes I go, "Oh, well, messed that one up. We'll try again tomorrow."
100%. And I think those two pieces are so valuable to our listeners and the folks that are potentially taking some inspiration from this conversation. So, Adam, we're up at the end of our conversation, but I always have one last question to ask before we wrap, because I think it's really important. Now, we joked about this before we hopped on this call, that even though we'd like to, in this scenario, we can't publicly ask for money without getting ourselves into a little bit of hot water. Though that I'm sure is something that there's two things that startups always need: customers and capital, and that's the reality. So, but we can't do that in this format. But there's a group of listeners listening to this that may have the same or similar passions around what Food for Health is doing and may be able to see a way to help. Who do you need? What kind of help are you looking for? And where could our listener potentially plug in and be part of this journey for you?
All right, so this means that if you want me to ask you for money, you have to call me. There's so much that we need, and it doesn't matter what size. I mean, 3M needs a lot today, and we're a lot smaller than them. But it all comes down to time, treasure, talent, and triage. So we've all got a limited amount of time, whether it's the day, the month, the year, or your life. How do we accelerate what we do in that time? And that would be talent, right? And yes, it's nice to pay talent, so money's good. But when I look at what we need out there, first of all, we need anybody who is willing to experiment with their own life for their own advantage, to download the app and try it. And we want to know what's wrong. If it doesn't work, tell us. We know many ways that it's not working, and we will know many ways that it doesn't work long before anyone ever discovers it, and maybe they'd ever discover it. But anyway, so yes, download the app. The app is actually called GoNo, so you find it in the Apple or the Android store, and tell us what you like or hate or want to see. We've got thick skin, we don't care. We can't be hurt, we're not going to cry. Well, maybe sometimes, but and that's what everyone can do. And then the big thing is talent. So we've got a rock star team. We've got very, very small. There's only 5 of us working full time, 3 of us part time, and that will double, triple in the next 12 to 18 months. But where we really have our greatest power is a bunch of advisors, and so when we need advice on HIPAA, we're going to a gentleman who has been in and out of every issue on HIPAA for United Health Group, as an example. So we're very interested in people who have something to bring to the organization, whether that's just calling us up and saying, "Hey, I've got an idea, and thanks, that's it," or you want to serve on a board with us. This time next year, we'll probably have. Right now, we have over 60 advisors. We'll probably have double that, because we'll have 1 physician, sometimes 2, in every practice area, in every major one. And by the way, there's 830 medical conditions for which food will either mitigate or mitigate, lessen, improve, eliminate, prevent the conditions that are making our lives shorter. So, talent. Send me talent.
That's perfect. That's perfect, and a perfect way to wrap this session. Thank you for being part of this journey. Thank you for trusting us to be part of your journey. We're excited to see. You can see Adam in person at the final Velocity Demo Day, if it's before June 18th of 25 when you're looking at this. And then also, if you want to contact Adam and team, you'll be able to contact them. Their contact information will be in the show notes for this episode. So thank you again for your time, Adam. Thank you to the listener for being here again. And everybody take care, and we'll see you all soon.
Thanks, Jeff. It's great.
Thanks.
Take 3.